is Kristen. We're good. Happy Sunday, everybody. Great to see you today. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Warren. I'm one of the leaders here for the Gathering Place. If you're visiting for the first time, it's only our second time, so thank you for those who came back and for those who are visiting for the first time. Our whole purpose here is to just consider questions that life has for us, and today's topic is we're going to grapple with the question, is there a God? And so we'll sing a few songs. We'll watch a video that will have a few people kind of contemplating that topic. And then I'll have some discussion questions for you. Today I'm considering maybe you guys can just talk some of these questions amongst yourself first, and then we'll see what kind of feedback comes out of some discussion as you get to know one another. So we're going to let our praise team kick us off with our first song.
Rises, we wait upon the Lord, we will wait upon the Lord, we will wait upon the Lord. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord, we will wait upon the Lord, we will wait upon the Lord. You reign forever, our hope, our strong deliverer. You are the everlasting God, the everlasting God. You do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. You lift us up on wings like eagles. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord our God. You reign forever. Our hope, our strong deliverer. You are the everlasting God, the everlasting God. You do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. You lift us up on wings like eagles. The everlasting God, Tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be Lord of all creation, of water, earth, and sky. Heavens are your tabernacle. Glory to the Lord on high. God of wonders beyond our galaxy. You are holy, holy. The universe declares your majesty. You are holy, holy. Lord of heaven and earth. Lord of heaven and earth. I will celebrate as I stumble in the darkness. I will call the name of night. God of wonders beyond our galaxy. You are holy, holy. The universe declares your majesty. You are holy, holy. Lord of heaven and earth. Lord of heaven and earth. Hallelujah. Lord of heaven and earth. Hallelujah. Lord of heaven and earth. Hallelujah. Lord of heaven and earth. God wonders beyond our galaxy. You are holy,
Hey, let's hear it for our praise team. They're like the best secret in Palestine right now, but we're getting the word out here. This is good. Amen. So today we're going to head into our video, and hopefully this will work for me today.
You got me disconnected, so that's a good sign.
That's a good sign. So then do I just hit play?
Yeah.
All right.
Did you send it to Clausen Road?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
All right, I think we'll be good. Our topic for today is God real? And before we get into that, I've left some little wristbands. It says, we all wonder. There's a website on the wristbands where we get all of our resources for the videos, exploregod.com. Make sure you grab one. It'll be kind of our little connection point. And if you invite someone to come, grab an extra. We have some in the back there, so that they can join in too and get a window of what we're doing. So here we go. We're going to go ahead with our video. Oh, we got a lot of volume. That's good.
So it has been amazing to be married to a physicist. One of the things that Catherine has said to me that I think is so striking is we now know, for example, that there are these cosmological constants, these ways that the universe is tuned, and it's these numbers that the physicists have to plug into their equations to get everything to work. For example, there's a constant related to gravity. How strongly do things attract each other? And you set that just a little bit differently, and the universe never gets stars, and then never gets planets, because stars form, obviously, by gravity. And the universe just quickly collapses in on itself. Or, if it's set the other way, if the dial is, it expands endlessly, and you never get the coalescing of matter that you get in the galaxies, and in stars, and then in planets, and then eventually our planet. So the fact that these things are tuned, and there's at least a dozen of these constants that have to be, the dial has to be set exactly right, or you never get life of any kind on a planet like Earth. And scientists have realized we have no idea why they're set the way they're set. I think when you start discovering those just givens of the universe, like it just is this way, it didn't have to be this way, but it is this way, it leaves you much more open to the possibility that it is this way because someone chose it to be this way.
I have a couple of sons that are the loves of my life. And it's fascinating how peekaboo is fun to them from the very beginning. Seems there's something about being hidden and then something being revealed. I don't know if I can, sum it up scientifically, but it is fascinating to me that in all of our hearts seems to be this desire to find out what's really going on.
I look at, you go to the zoo, what animals do people want to see? They want to see the bears and the lions and the tigers. In my country, sharks are a big deal, sharks and whales. People want to be in a place where they're reminded of the fact that they are not the greatest or most important thing in the world. But why are people drawn to mountains or to ocean vistas or to raging rivers or canyons? There is a yearning within the human psyche to be freed from the folly of imagining that the human experience is the highest or the greatest experience that there can be. We can't bear the idea that we are it, that this is as good as it gets, that the human experience is the highest evolution possible. And we have to believe that there's something greater, something beyond, something more important to us.
I've traveled around the world. I've been to about 24 different countries. I've spoken to people from every religious background, I've talked to people who grew up in 70 years of atheistic communism. And you know what is shocking is that even in that environment, the majority of people, when you get them alone and you ask them, they say, you know, deep down, I've always believed there must be a God or a higher power, someone up there who gave me life, who has purpose for my life. And you think about that, like, why is that so common to humanity? There's got to be some reason. And doesn't it make sense that's like this homing device in every human, pointing us back to the very source of life?
I think I have had some experiences in life that give me confidence to know there is a God. Some of it was the time I spent with my grandmother when I was very young. Sometimes I'd be in the house with her and just be the two of us. And she might sing a hymn from church, or she might pray. And as a little girl, I don't know how else to explain it except to say I could feel something when she would sing that way. That there was something very real and spiritual happening. You know, even though as a little girl, I sort of felt like I'm looking in on something happening between my grandmother and God, maybe. And as I got older, you know, sometimes I'd be in a church service and I might have that same feeling that I remember having sitting in my grandmother's house. But I think it's just been a lot of those experiences over time that sort of have lumped together to say to me, this is how I know that God is real.
If you actually think it through, the idea that, let's say, okay, there's no God. We just got here by accident. You know, we evolved out of the primordial soup over billions of years, totally accidentally. God didn't guide that because he doesn't exist. So we're here. So it logically follows that life has no meaning. Now people go, okay, well, no, life has no meaning. If you think about that, it is so bleak and horrifying that most people would know that can't be. The love that you feel for people in your life that you have felt, according to the idea, if there's no God, then that love means nothing. It's not even love. It's just a chemical reaction designed to perpetuate the species, totally by accident.
All of us, when we look at the world today, long for a better world. I mean, we look at the events that happen on the news, when we see bombs go off in the middle of crowds, when we see children being abducted and then put into the slave trade. All of us have something in us that we look at that and know that's not right, and we yearn for a better world. There isn't something evolutionary about that. It doesn't necessarily help my survival to seek someone else's good. But it's there, it's implanted in all of us. And if we pay attention to that, I think we get a sense of the heartbeat of God.
I remember when my first son was born, and when I was growing up, I couldn't wait to be a father, and I couldn't wait to be a husband. So now I've got the wife, and we've married. You know, we were going on 7 years at the time, and then we find out she's pregnant. We got our son. He's coming into the world, and I remember when that little guy came out, and he looked like he was 85 years old, and looked like he had crazy amounts of hair, even on his forehead, and he wasn't terribly cute, in all honesty, from the first time that he came out. He has since grown into a beautiful young man. But when I saw him, I mean, explain it. Explain the connection, explain the love, explain the awe. For me, I go back to God is love. Not that he has love, but is love. And any friends of mine that have experienced love, they've experienced that presence, that joy, that hope, Like it's all just a little sign. It's telling us that there's something more here. There's something more.
I think I realized that if there is a God, then I can't prove him, nor can I disprove him with science. That if anything, God would have to prove himself to us. God would have to overcome this enormous ontological gap that exists between us and him, and actually reveal himself to us in a way that makes sense.
A lot of it is just that experience, that sort of trying and seeing, and that when we want to know more about God, he wants us to know more about him too. And I think he meets us where we are in that way.
So some good thoughts there. Today,
Should be going up.
okay. Yep. So today I have some questions for you guys to consider, and we're going to do a little different. I want you guys to get to know one another a little bit. So I'm going to give you a little time to kind of look through these questions. What makes it easy to believe in God? What makes it hard? What role, if any, did God play in your family when you were growing up? And how does your upbringing impact your worldview beliefs today? And finally, what do you think could convince you to change your current stance on God's existence, whether toward belief or unbelief? So take some time, turn around to your neighbor. It doesn't matter how many, just make sure you get to know someone. Introduce, say, hi, my name is so-and-so. Even if you know each other, it's good to practice. And just work through some of these questions, and we'll give you a few minutes, and we'll come back and hear what you guys come up with. So, break.
Of course, I know her.
Yeah, of course, because we're like, we're not doing what I need to be doing. Why am I experiencing these issues? God, aren't you there to help me? So that's our prayers. When is it easy to believe? When is it easy? I mean, Aaron kind of said when things are going good. What's another way for...
There's a major issue with evolution just kind of as a whole. And
Gotcha.
one of the things
I was thinking about when things
the
are going
symbiotic
good.
relationship that
I feel like it's almost when things
different
are going
organisms
bad,
have,
you go, oh
one
man,
cannot
that's
survive
right.
without the
Yeah.
other.
You know, if you're
If
looking for
evolution
meaning
is
in
true,
it. So that's
then
usually what brings at least me back
who
to
came first?
what am I
They
doing
come
wrong?
at the same time.
Am I on the right track? Am I not on the right track? How do I get back on the right track?
Therefore, creation has been created by Creator.
Keep it going, I'm going to love this.
Therefore, we've got to do what He wants us to do, right? Because if He has the ability to do that, He also has the ability to do that, right? And so, really, we take a risk in denying that God's creation is God's creation. Because when we do that, then I suppose, and that allows us to do whatever
We're just contemplating some questions.
therefore there's no measure for morality, there's no measure for, you know what I mean? There has to be a yardstick of a measuring tool to say what is right and what is wrong. So it has to be absolute truth. Because there is God, because there wasn't. There's a creation. So creation was made.
That's one of my students. Oh, we're talking about Starbucks. Oh, that's Starbucks.
Spinning through space at like 60,000 miles an hour, and there's no God, right? You know what I mean? He didn't breathe easier. That means we're in charge, and that's even scarier yet. Part of all of this. Someone like me that has.
What you take into an experience to, is how you view it, and Satan is such a father of lies that you can listen to different scientists, and some of them will tell you that the science disproves it, but there are so many scientists that take it further, and they will tell you that the science proves that. And there's some physicist that says it's just the absolute truth of that, of all that has to work together.
I think again, some of the things that make it harder. We're in such a materialistic world, and it seems more and more people hear about churches closing all the time, and people falling away from them. So we're certainly a minority of despite trying to change that. So that means this. And on top of that, when you look at what's going on, we have more visibility now into what's actually happening across the world. There's tragedy all the time. So those are the things that God wants. Sort of makes it challenging, but it'd be a good way to do it.
Yeah. So I'm just.
Yeah.
We're going to give you a few more minutes. You got great conversation. I don't want to interrupt.
When I was growing up, my family didn't go to church at all. My mom is Protestant. They basically reconciled my study mutual canceling. Who knows who cares? It doesn't matter.
Because if there was no that,
That's the way it's stayed. Very scientific in my application. But I don't know why. So, so how can you make a decision about all of this when you can bother to actually learn and the facts and researching this is good. So we ended up at Crossways. And the very first day at Crossways, Tim says, so it's an all or nothing business. You either believe it all or you believe nothing. You don't get to pick and choose. It's all or nothing. We're going to walk through this and we'll see. But if at any time you basically don't believe anything, oh, that's cool. And so let's begin. Genesis 1:1, God created the world in the beginning. Hold it, time out. So long story short, it all unfolds and works out. Waiting for you guys were talking. Some of the people scientific person.
Find something that's
Really different.
Yeah.
Viewpoint. And so, once you do work,
Yeah, I'd say I suppose a miracle is any less than a miracle to explain how it happened. You know what I mean? Just because we can explain something doesn't mean it's any less of a miracle.
My father
So,
died when I
like,
was 6.
we have particle physicists,
We were in
you know, it's just like, even though you can explain the things out
together.
put together, like,
I got my mother. So we just continue to grow that way. But back to the an insurance guy, he called himself a state plan, and we had 25 cents. So he had been a Presbyterian. And he said, "Every child roots, something's very little, some almost very a lot, but they've got roots, they'll come back." And you know, I think we continue with that. I just said, did nothing. I can see my face getting weaker. You can see my feet.
So everything else is just, yeah. There's that first one, right?
person who did that, we sure look at that.
Yes.
A miracle is a miracle because of the timing, not because of what happened. You know what I mean? Like for example, you know, the party of Rusty can be explaining that wins and that's how the season, like, whatever, you know, excuses. It's a time that it happened, right? So that's how it's
So I'm going to ask you to wrap up a little bit here. I'd really like to hear what you're coming up with. As I've been going around the room, I'm hearing a lot of similarities. And from the young to the not so young, they're kind of same things. So this group has been really, you've been diving in over here. What did you come up with on what makes it easy or hard to believe in God? What were some things you came up with? Too much design for them not to be a designer. Yes, there's so much out there. Somebody had to make it. Is that what you mean? So that makes it easy to believe?
Sure. I mean, you know, I can't be disproven that I'm here until I have it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Exactly. So kind of what the one person who shared there, the creator, we're the created, there has to be something that created all of this. So that makes it easy. What made it hard for you guys to believe in God? What did your group come up with?
We were just saying,
Don't be shy.
it's easy when things go well, and when things happen unexpectedly that don't go well, that's when it's harder.
It's easy to believe when things are going well. It's harder when things come up unexpectedly that are hard, a struggle. We were kind of talking about that back there with Georgie and her mom and Denise. And yeah, it seems like and I think someone in this group said that when you're kind of going through the hard times, it's the very thing that draws you back to believing and hoping in God. But it also can be a thing that makes you wonder, are you even there? Because somebody shared in the other group, I prayed for 2 years and nothing happened. This was a young one who said this. Prayed for 2 years, and then after a while, I got my answer. And I said, was it clear? She said, oh yeah, without a doubt. I got the answer. But it took a long time. Isn't that amazing from our own young ones who really live it out? Share with me a little bit in your growing up. What role did God play in your life? Anybody want to share that? Yeah, John.
For me, it's been the only constant. My parents were divorced when I was young. I went 3 years without seeing my biological mom. My stepmom died when I was 25. I got married up north, and there's always been one constant. You've got people coming in and out of my life. My faith and my belief in God is the only thing that's kept me here.
That's awesome. For those who didn't hear, and maybe online, our friend John was saying, he's had ups and downs. People come in, people come out of his life, all sorts of struggles. But there's been one constant, and that's God from front to back. And so that's the role that he's had that God's had in his life, the impact.
I think that kind of really I think it really kind of speaks to the like what keeps people from God. Also, I know my father was raised Catholic, so he was just kind of a habit for him to take us to church because it thinking about what his duty to do for us. But my mother had a really tough, really tough childhood. Her and her family, her siblings, at the hand of a stereotypically like evil stepfather, right? So that always kept her from having any faith. She just would continually like replay those events of her life, and it kept her from faith. My guitar smells a little bit like a campfire. Just last night, I had an opportunity to kind of witness to a friend, outside playing some guitar in the backyard.
Nice.
Was stopping him from having any faith. It's just all that.
Yeah, from the people that are designed for us to trust, that fail us. Everybody's human. Everybody falls short. I think God's word says something about that. But the people that we're really relying on when we're growing up, the foundational people like you're talking about, like we're going to a heavenly Father, and if our view of a father is jaded and filled with hurt and anger, there's a barrier for us to go give this guy a chance, right? That's so deep and real. I appreciate you sharing that. It's a huge thing to overcome. And just like John had said, the mom, dad, you look to your mom and dad for guidance and direction, but they're people too. So, yeah, excellent sharing there. So, how does that impact what we believe today? Whether you're a follower of God or whether you're not. How does your upbringing impact where you're at now? Because some people go on a journey and they have life experiences, and then something changes and they gravitate toward other worldview. Maybe, as Bob, you talked about, it seemed like obligation and duty that your dad was bringing you to church, but now I know you. You're not coming here out of obligation and duty. It's like God has done something to you where it's the desire of your heart, and it can go the other way too. Maybe you had a walk with God, and all these disappointments in life have made you think, well, maybe he's not the one. Any thoughts on how that upbringing impacts you? Tough question.
I think for me, it became my safe place.
Your safe place.
I was raised knowing God and growing up in the church, but because I had it just, whether I go off, to college and come back, it just always, my faith and going to church just calms me.
Yeah, it's your safe place as you go out and grow in life. You reach out to new things. You get new ideas and new ideals from people. But it's the thing you come back to, it sounds like, if I'm hearing you right. So, you hear words like foundation or my strength or my resting place. So, yeah, that's great.
Well, for me, whenever I avail myself.
You make yourself available.
If I'm just in a bad mood and I go, well, no, I'm going to open the Bible. And I'm never disappointed. And when I go to church, I'm not disappointed. So God always meets my need. I can be really low and I'm only opening the Bible because I've been raised in the faith. I'll open the Bible and I don't expect much, and then I get a lot.
Yeah, that's a blessing. I mean, you're going to a source of information. I'm just looking at this from all worldviews. You're going to God's Word, and it's providing you comfort, direction, assurances. But how about those folks who go to God's Word and nothing? Have you ever had that? You're like searching, go to God's Word, and you come away, I'm still struggling. Anybody ever have that? Am I the only one who's had that? I mean, yeah, it does happen. Thank you for your honesty. Yeah. And so that could be a thing where you're like, well, enough of that. I'm not getting my answers. I can't even find the place to go in.
Well, I guess I gotta say, I don't usually go to the hardest parts.
Oh, okay, that's good. Don't go to the hardest parts. There's a good. We need help. But that gets. Oh yeah, go ahead, Scott.
To that though, because we said it's either all or nothing, right? So you believe it all or not, and so I think studying understanding. When I started school, I was at a point where I was really questioning my faith and erring on the side of, I don't really think I believe all this stuff. So getting into the Old Testament and understanding the background behind it, what it actually meant, changes kind of how you believe in what the Bible's saying. So.
Yeah, it's what lens you come at it with, right? And that makes all the difference. Yeah.
I have my ups and downs with life, just like everybody else.
Sure.
But didn't Jesus have his ups and
He
downs?
sure did. Yeah, for those online, the comment is, I have my ups and downs.
And he died for us.
Right.
So how could you change?
Yeah.
You gotta love him unconditionally.
Amen. Yeah. So the comment is, I go through my ups and downs, so did Jesus. Didn't he go through his ups and downs? He sure did. He did it for us. He went through those ups and downs for us. So it's the thing that makes us constant. Pastor, are there any comments online yet today? Or
no comments
no
online.
Comments? Just wanted to check in with you folks. Don't be shy. You're part of the cafe too. You're part of the gathering place. One thing, as we go to the next slide. One of the speakers said about how science doesn't always find God, and God doesn't always find science or solve either one. And he said, where does he present himself? Where does he reveal himself? And so I was looking at this passage. This is from a writer that's really unknown, but it's titled The Hebrews. And it says, long ago, at many times and many ways, God spoke to our fathers by the prophets. So people who had an understanding of God shared it with others and spoke forwardly. But in these last days, he's spoken to us by his Son. And so, like, God reveals himself through his own Son. And that's what you had said. By what he did, his ups and his downs. And so you've seen that. He's revealed that to you. And that's been a strength for you. So that could be one way of trying to find, is there a God? Look to the Son, because he's the one who's speaking. And then the next scripture I thought of was, a lot of times people look at all around. I think, Dan, you kind of alluded to this, the creator and the created. We look around, like, the complexity of nature is far surpassing our understanding. And so we look to the skies, and it says the heavens declare his glory. The sky above proclaims his handiwork. You know, I don't know. I love nature. I love to go out in nature. And you can see in human beings, in trees, in plants, life, death, how things come into being, the reproductive, recreating nature of life. And it doesn't take far but to look outward and look heavenward to see God reveal his handiwork. So that's my encouragement to you today is no matter what your worldview, maybe consider looking outside of yourself and looking at what messages God, the Creator, might be giving to you to show that he is in fact real. A lot of people look at God as from afar away, but actually he comes in a very real way, which I know many of you have already shared. He gets real in a personal way. And when we're going through life stuff, when it's real, that's when he shows up. Well, thanks for a great discussion and being willing. Yeah, go ahead.
What is causing this need to have to figure everything out and not go by faith? Is it just that people are talking about it more and they've always felt that, or is it's like complexity of nature surpasses our understanding?
Then we need to understand.
That sounds good for me.
Yeah.
What's driving this need to have to understand and figure it out?
Well, my own personal thoughts on that, and there's probably a wide view of this. I think mankind wants to be at the pinnacle of everything and wants the complete knowledge of all things in its universe. And so we have a lot of unanswered questions. So that's why we strive to reach out more. Think of our space. You know, you look up in the stars. We are but a speck in the totality of the universe. And so what do? We send rockets and space stations and ships farther and farther and farther. Why? So we can obtain the knowledge of something that is greater than us, so that we can be at that same level and kind of be the masters of our own universe. I think that's really what drives mankind.
Is that a bit what Adam and Eve are trying to do?
I think so. I mean, if you remember back in the beginning of Scripture, Adam and Eve, there was a tempter who came and said, you know why God told you not to eat that fruit? Because you'll be like him. And you'll know everything. And God doesn't want you to know everything. So God surely didn't say that. So he's trying to get into man's psyche like, well, yeah, I should be like God. I need to know everything. And I think that might be part of why they fell.
I think everybody wants to have all the answers. You hear a lot of times when people go away to college, the professors say, well, since you can't physically see God or explain God, he doesn't exist. So people want to have that tangible knowledge or that tangible thing to see before they believe. And if I can't see it, why am I going to believe it? Yeah. I think that's a lot. And we do have an online comment.
Okay.
Yeah, the person said, the sea is his, and he made it. Such a powerful picture of his awesome creation.
The sea is his, and he made it. Such an awesome and powerful picture of his creation. Yeah, thank you for checking in with us on that. Right to the point.
Yeah, I think it's just our nature to try to understand how things work, and as you were saying, but it's interesting in that God doesn't make himself hugely, blatantly visible, because he wants us to love him and reflect the love that he's given to us out of love and not out of some fear that there's some almighty God ruling over us that has the power of life and death over us.
Yeah.
And so he shows himself in whispers, and he shows himself in these coincidences and things like that, so that people that are watching for it and are looking for it find him in these things.
Yeah.
And come to him on those terms rather than being terrified and worshiping a God that they're afraid of.
Really well said. Yeah. Right. And we're going to end with that point of just God speaks in the stillness and whispers. And we got to be willing to open our ears a little bit and open our eyes. He's not a demanding God, a wrathful God. He comes to speak to us personally in those whispers. So great point. Thank you, Dave. We're going to wrap up our time together, and maybe the band can come up, our praise team can come up and play a couple more songs for us. Think about people that you would like to pray for, and Donald will come and lead us in a quick time of prayer. And so, praise team, come on up. Thanks, everybody, for a great discussion.
What's the topic next week?
Next week.
Something about pain, I think, and suffering.
Yeah.
Why does God allow pain and suffering?
Why does God allow pain and suffering? That's our topic for next week. While the band is coming up, we have an opportunity to serve our community. Over at Emmanuel, a couple blocks away on Thursday, we're doing a community meal where we give free food to anybody who comes into the doors over there. And it's great. It's an excellent meal. But we need helpers to help serve the people who come into the doors at Emmanuel. So it starts at 5 p.m., but if you're willing and if you have time, there's setup time from 3 to 5, serving time 5 to 7, and cleanup time from 7 to 8. So if you're interested in that, there's a card right next to Jeanette. Just pick it up on your way out. If you have any questions about it, let me know. All right, praise team, let's go.
On my lips your praise. Ever be on my lips. Ever be on my lips.
As Warren said, I'm Donald. I'm one of the other leaders here. And so we're going to, as we did last week, go to our Lord in prayer, that conversation where we talk to our Heavenly Father about what's on our hearts and minds. So like last week, I had my phone out so I can write down any of the prayer requests that we have so that way I can remember them all. And it's not just for us here in the room, but we also invite anybody watching online right now where they can chime in with their prayer requests. Warren will relay them to me when we get any, if we get any online. So do we have any prayer requests this afternoon? Because she lost her husband.
Maybe upcoming surgery or
Healing.
whatever this I had a fall before Christmas and I'm still struggling with my legs. So we're healing for that.
Any other prayer requests?
That we would all invite more people to come and experience this awesome time again.
My son-in-law needs work and he just moved to Pittsburgh. And all the others that are seeking employment. So his name is Jay.
Jay.
Jay, for work in Pittsburgh.
Prayer of thanksgiving for the use of this place.
God bless Christy and DJ.
That's right.
Anything else? Anything online, Pastor?
Healing for many with the flu came online. Thank you for that.
If not, let's go and have that conversation with our Heavenly Father about what's on our hearts and our minds. Dear Heavenly Father, we are just so thankful that we can come to you with whatever is on our hearts and our minds. And we know that some people do question, well, what is God? Who is God? Is there really a God? We just ask that we can be witnesses to those who are questioning their faith, or maybe just opening our mouths and our minds so we can share that message of who you are and the importance of you in our lives. And let not us be discouraged from those times when it feels like our prayers are falling upon deaf ears, because we know that you hear each one of our prayers. And this afternoon we lift up many people here. We lift up Michelle, who recently lost her husband. We know that it's never an easy thing when we lose a loved one. So we just ask you for comfort and strength. Be that refuge, that strong tower. And for her niece and her family, as her dad, Roy, passed away yesterday. We know that, like I said, it's never an easy thing to lose a loved one, especially your father. So we just ask you to be comforting to them, lift them up, keep them and surround them in your loving and caring hands. And for guidance for Laverne as she figures out the next step in the process with her colon cancer, that just give wisdom for what is the best way to treat this so she can get back to the comforts of her life. And for Jeanette, who is still struggling with some pain and some issues after falling before Christmas, so just place your healing hand on her to heal that up quicker and sooner rather than later. And for all of us to be bold and have that courage and say, come with me to the gathering place. Just as Jesus, when he called his disciples, said, follow me, help us to say to others, follow me to the gathering place so they can enjoy and be part started this dialogue with you and this one with these wonderful people here. And for Jay, Jeanette's son-in-law, who is looking for employment in Pittsburgh, give him wisdom as he searches for the right places and give him just comfort during this time. And be with all those who are struggling and looking for employment. Give them a sense of peace and guidance to help them to come to find the job you are leading them to. And we are just so thankful for Christy and DJ for opening up this place so we can come together, and just thankful for this and continue to bless and look after Christy and DJ. And with all those who are struggling with the flu, place your healing hand upon them, and be with those who are in maybe the early stages to help knock it out sooner so they don't have as bad as symptoms. We just ask you to be with all those others who are in our hearts and our minds. And it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Take us out, praise team.
The skies proclaim, God you reign. Your glory shines. You teach the sun to bring a new day. Creation sings, God you reign. God you reign. God you reign. Forever and ever. God you reign. You part the seas. You move the mountains with the words that you say. My song remains, God you reign. You hold my life. You know my heart, and you call me by name. I live to say, God you reign. God you reign. God you reign. Forever and ever. God you reign. God you reign. God you reign. Forever and ever. God you reign. Hallelujah. God you reign. God you reign. Forever
lift it up.
God, you reign. God, you reign. Forever and ever. God, you reign. God, you reign. God, you reign. Forever and ever. God, you reign.
But blessed is the praise. Thanks for coming, everybody. Have a great week. See you next week. I hope. Bring a friend. This is the time to